Hello and welcome to another joint production between Besty's Inspirational Guidance and Aaron Media Central, and we are here to complete the last couple of episodes on Who is Lionel Best. And yeah, we'll speak to the man himself. How are you, Besty?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. It's been a nice emotional journey talking through these series, and really looking forward to the last couple of episodes to conclude Who is Lionel Best. Going to talk about my journey in coaching, where it all began, and then moving swiftly and nicely onto how Big was formed and why.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Go, carry on.
No, that's all I was going to say, and why it was formed. And looking forward to those two last episodes.
Wonderful. I was obviously taking a look back through the videos myself when I had some downtime. Obviously, lots going on, Christmas, other things that you know about as well. Ready to sort of crack on now and get obviously this sort of portion of what we've got planned finish, and then get on with the other stuff, which we've got lots of stuff being inclusive with some of the young people that use your community-based service, and obviously some of the people involved with it as well. So a lot coming up.
Definitely, really looking forward to that. Very much so.
Wicked. So Lionel, we're gonna be speaking to the more coaching, technical side of yourself now, rather than looking back on stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask you, fundamentally, when did you start coaching?
Yeah, I think where it all began and my first experiences, I didn't really see it as coaching or saw myself as a coach. I just saw myself as giving back and helping out. That great man, Clinton Wall, that many have heard me speak about on many of the different podcast series. He's the man who got me so much opportunity. Some I didn't take advantage of, like my trial at Crystal Palace, and some I did, like getting into semi-professional football. But while I was playing semi-professional football, Clinton clearly was still involved in helping young people in the community, and he was running a young side, one of the 10 and B sides, which his oldest son, Daniel, played for, and he asked me to come down and help out and do some coaching. I think that was my first experience of coaching, which I really just looked at as just helping out and giving a bit back, using some of my experiences and expertise and knowledge of football just to help the youngsters. I must say, 10 and B, most South Londoners know 10 and B. I think it is widely known because that's where Ian Wright came from. And Ian Wright had a few of his boys that were playing for 10 and B sides. His older ones, Bradley Wright-Phillips and Shaun Wright-Phillips, who became professional footballers, they were playing for slightly older clubs, teams in 10 and B. But I was helping Clinton manage a slightly younger team, which they had another brother called Brett. And I must say, Brett was the one that reminded me of Ian the most. He was a striker. He was a striker, and just the way he played and moved was more like Dad.
So he just operated the same as a Wrighty senior.
Yeah, he did, and he was quite a big surprise that he never actually made it. Actually, even though the other Bradley, everybody's seen Bradley and Shaun on the professional circuit and seen that they're good players as well. But there was something about Brett who was just more like Dad. He looked like he played like Ian Wright. He was a striker, just the way he used to be, like a poacher and strike a ball and things like that, you know. So that was a great pleasure, and that was the introduction to my coaching journey. Not too long after that, I was asked to help out at my son's school team when my son was a year 5. this is back in 2001 at his school, Everfield Primary School. His tutor, who was had the passion to get the team going again, because the school didn't have a football team for a while. He wanted to get a team going again, but he wasn't really a football man. But he knew I was, and he asked me if I could help out. And I said, of course, I don't mind. Shola Ingrid, really nice man, lovely man. And not too long after that, he asked me if I can take over the team and run the team. And I was more than happy to do so. And that was in 2001. And
okay, so we're talking quite a way back. Well, obviously just after you obviously retired from playing football, then I'm guessing, yeah?
Yeah, well, I was still playing semi-pro football in 2001. So I was still active. And again, as I said, it was more, I was, at the beginning, I was just helping out. As I said, they want a real passion, but I was enjoying what I was doing. But it was more to just help out. My son left the year after, but the school asked me to stay on. And I must say, this month, 25 years later, I'm still at the school.
Wow.
Still running the boys, and now the girls. They've had a girls' league for the last 9 years. Run the two sides, and then big. We deliver all the after-school football clubs in the school as well. So we've had a bit of a journey there, but that all started back in 2001. And that's when the journey started. The school supported me in getting my level 2.
So that's what I was going to ask next, Lionel. Did you get did you get any qualifications? Did you go and do your paperwork?
Yeah, well, I started getting more of an appetite. I thought, okay, let's start going down the qualification route. Fantastic, just going on those courses, what you learn. I love the game. But just learning how to be a coach was just fantastic, and learning how to teach youngsters the principles of football with the different drills that you learn along the way. So it was about 2000, I think. It wasn't straight away. About 2007, I think, I went and done my level 2 in the end. But now I'm getting more of an appetite for coaching now, and kind of finished playing semi-pro football, and that was my next step now to get into the coaching world and start giving a bit back and helping the youngsters, and started, not only had a passion to help them with their football, but I always sort of had a desire to help them to develop personally as well.
Yeah.
And I let me just finish by saying, like, you've also heard me mention Tony Davies, his name, and plenty of time. And Tony Davies was the first person who said to me back then, quite early, that you're not just a coach, Lionel. I see you more as a tutor. And I didn't actually quite grasp what he was really getting at, but a few years down the line, I kind of got it, because it wasn't just about the football. It was about helping the kids and young people develop generally, but football was just the tool to do it, as you're here in the next episode, in terms of starting up big, and the reason I started up big and using football as that main tool initially.
So just wanted to ask you, Lionel, just on a more personal kind of level as well, sort of thing, when you're actually coaching, and obviously we're going to talk a little bit more about the places that you did coach and the heights that you might have got to in terms of coaching, but when you're actually sort of on an everyday basis, sort of like coaching, like obviously a plethora of ages, what's the first thing you do? Do you tailor drills towards their ability? Do they all have to do the same thing, or how are you nurturing these talents individually?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to be very observant, and not only at the beginning, all the way through the sessions and over weeks and things like that. You've got to know your players.
So it's not one size fits all, essentially.
No, it's not one size fits all, but there's things that you're doing as individual technical drills. There's things that you're doing as team related development, and everyone's at different levels and standards. And obviously those levels and standards are very wide apart, wider than you would get in the elite environment, like academy environment. So it's not easy. The grassroots football coaches have a very, very tough journey. Tough job to do, because you are trying to balance so many different dynamics with different technical abilities, different sizes and ages, especially with depending on the age group that you're working with. But my age group was always at the beginning, like from 9 up to about 12.
Yeah.
And the sizes they vary within that.
It's a growing age, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not just the abilities, and you get a vast amount of ability. You got people that are almost like beginners. They, technically have just started playing, so they're not as strong as some of the other players that have probably started playing like myself, just obsessed with football from when they can walk, 5 and 6 and 7, kicking the ball around. So you've got to get your sessions right, and depending on what you're trying to teach them as individuals, but then you have to get a team ready for matches, competitive matches, because as I said, like I was the manager as well as the coach for the school matches, even though my preference is just to develop, if I'm honest. I'm more of a development man rather than a manager.
So you get the satisfaction from seeing the incorporation of something that you've mentioned to a young player that they've put into their game, and then that must give you that thrill a bit more than actually being the manager. Yeah,
I think what gives me a bigger thrill is more the beginners, when they find it very difficult to kick a ball with the lack of technique or control the ball, and just learning the basics. And when you see the basics just develop over time, when you see kids come to you at year 4 or year 5, but by the time they're leaving school, because I make it my job to make sure that they're as equipped as best as they can with the tools and the knowledge of football by the time they leave the school. And some of them are just amazing, like what they've picked up, especially the beginners, and that gives me great satisfaction, because I think back, and especially with a lot of the girls, they've never kicked a ball before, they've never been in that environment. They can't, but then they learn that the puncher pass, which I focus a lot on, punch passes and side foot passing, and learning to pass technique to each other, and just the basic side of things, control and pass, and a little bit of dribbling, things like that.
When I was obviously younger, and I was playing football and stuff like that sort of thing, one of my personal favorite things to do, and what I always learned, and that was playing with a lot of older people, even around the council estate or whatever, was your first touch is always the way that the game or the moment's going to develop. If you got a crisp first touch, you can get away from things so much quicker.
Absolutely.
And when your touch is poor and the ball goes away from you, you don't have that much. So so is that the element of what you're talking about, just getting that conception of control?
Absolutely, that control, but it's also passing, because I think in young people's heads, and I know there's something to be said in letting young people express themselves and develop as much technical ability as possible the younger they are, like dribbling skills and techniques. But when you're playing a team sport, and certainly if you're playing football matches, I think it's very important for you to be able to know how and be willing to want to pass the ball, and knowing when and where to express yourself, even at a young age. That's just my own personal philosophy. So I think, as well as learning how to get your first touch right and control, I think, and one of the things I learned when I went to senior level football was how well they're good and teach and develop young players in passing the ball and what they call punch passing the ball. So the ball fizzes.
Yeah, love that.
Through the grass, through the.
And when you're receiving that ball, you receive it at a speed which is kind of relative to play. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So it's good for both.
When you see professionals do that, you just you clap it, because it's just a thought, like, it could even, you don't have to fizz it in directly, but even in front of them, you're
talking about when you see professionals do it, because going back to your question in terms of where have I coached, like, I did progress to my level 3, but even before I got my level 3, I got the opportunity to go and coach at Crystal Palace Academy.
Great stuff.
And I was coaching at Crystal Palace Academy for 4.5 years. Again, I had no desire to coach at an academy. Back then, my mentality, like most grassroots coaches in my era, was, academy football, ruins grassroots football's game. They tried to turn them into robots and take away all the natural ability, which is further from the truth.
It's the system-based sort of like stuff.
But it isn't. It isn't. They don't. It's almost like I started learning that when I started playing game understanding, help you develop your the knowledge of the game. They help you to understand your team responsibility and your individual responsibility, your unit responsibility. But if you've got your X factors in terms of your natural ability, it's for you to bring that out at the right time. And once you can, you're laughing because you look special. You look like what they call in the football world, you look like a worldie. You look like a brilliant player. But it's not worth having a whole load of ability if you're not doing it at the right time in the right places. And if you don't know how to get the ball, it's all a waste of time. So I was always running from elite football, but I was always, not that I wanted to sort of direct young players into academies, but if I saw people that were special, I would have a conversation with their parents and say, look, this person's quite special. And back in those days, I did know somebody who I played with at Elms. You heard me speak about Elms in previous series episodes. Absolutely. And he was like the assistant chief scout for Palace, and I arranged a trial with 2 young lads who were exceptional, and it'd be a shame not to try and open up something for them. They were at that right mentality, very good players, and I got them a trial at Crystal Palace. Regrettably, one never got through the trial, but one did. But what happened there, I used to go and watch the training, and Besty's always talking. I always talk a game, and I'm always giving my view. And when I was talking about the game and talking about how I see things, and obviously my experience as a semi-professional player and things like that, the chief scout said to me, like, you know what, we need somebody like you down here, because there wasn't many, or there was one more black coach who was in the main Crystal Palace Academy setup. There was a couple in the pre-academy, but there was only one. And this guy, it was a white guy, he said it straight. He just said straight. The catchment area is mainly from Brixton and Croydon and a lot of these areas, Southeast, where there's a lot of the black players. And he was saying they need more black coaches down here. I mean, obviously you go to the Palace now, there is quite a few black coaches, but when I was at Palace, there wasn't many. And he insisted that I go for at that time they were looking for coaches, and he was asking me, have you got your level 2 or you get any qualifications? I said, yeah. So he opened it up and persuaded me to come into Palace. And I was a little bit hesitant at first because of my mentality at that time. I was more grassroots through and through. That's where the help was needed.
It's quite a big step up, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a big step up, but I wasn't worried about the step up. It's just my mentality. I just wanted to help those at Grassroots. But that had to be the best decision of my life. I learned so much. Of course, I'm going to learn so much. I just didn't realize how much I was going to learn being in an academy, just learning from other coaches. They were brilliant coaches there. Just the environment and the setup of academy football. Just the drills that they were doing, which was like, wow. I mean, obviously, you learn some really good drills when you do your level 2 and qualification, but the drills that some of these coaches were doing and how effective they were to get
improvement of the players,
to improve the players, it was just amazing. That was the first time I learned how to use more than one ball, because before I used to coach with just one ball, with especially in team games or team sessions, whereas they were just like one ball goes out, you kick another one in to keep the boys just focused and just keep things just, the tempo up, which is why there is such a high tempo at academies. That's one of the reasons, you can't switch off at all. I just learned so much. The amount of CPDs that we went to as coaches that you had to go to at least once a year, and then you go and watch other professional coaches showing you all these different sessions. There was so much I learned, and just the dynamics and the politics at that level to try and open up the door for more grassroots players. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. Going to match days and playing against some really great sides, academies. Everybody knows the obvious ones: the Arsenals, the Chelsea. Tottenham had a good academy.
What year circa are we talking about?
What year?
What years circa are we talking about? I mean, like, are we talking from like a specific period of the 4.5 years that you're working there? What years?
Yeah, they were. I started in 2009.
Okay.
So it was up to about 2013, 2014 that I stopped working at Palace. I started big in 2011, so it became a little bit
of a conflict of interest sort of thing. Yeah.
With needing to get big going as well. But the things that I was learning was fantastic. I decided to do my UEFA, my level 3, which completed my UEFA B license in 2011. So clearly I had already been at Palace a couple of years, learned a lot from that time, but also going on that level 3, which was quite intense.
It'd be nice to have an episode where you talk about what you learned on the like UEFA B and stuff like that sort of thing, because not a lot of people hear it, but they don't know what that encapsulates. So that would be a good one to talk about as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was kind of just going back looking at my certificate just to remind myself when did I do my level 3 UEFA B, and I was quite surprised and a little bit shocked to realize that it was the same year that I started big. I set up big. So that was quite an important, significant year, 2011. Apart from anything else, that was the same year my youngest son was born as well.
Wow.
So I didn't realize all these things happened.
It was a super year for you.
Yeah, in 2011,
And one more question I want to ask you, Lionel, to maybe like kind of close this as well. And it's a bit of a personal question from just like from listening to what you've had to say. As a coach and as someone that's been in elite coaching and obviously grassroots, what do you prefer to mold? Do you prefer a youngster with lots of heart and can grow, or do you prefer a maverick?
And when you're talking about a youngster, heart, are you talking about different levels, like
willing to run through brick walls for you, willing to just sort of like absolutely, like has that attitude of like there's no thing I won't do for you, in terms of like, obviously within
I think,
so, do you know what I mean? But an absolute grafter or a person who's naturally got it?
No, I personally think no matter what you've got to be willing to put the work in, because, and that's in anything in life. I think for
So
me,
essentially, to conceptualize my question, I'm talking about a God-given talent like Lionel Messi or a hard worker like Ronaldo. That's the comparison I'm sort of making to, but I'm doing it within youngsters.
yeah, but I still think that you'll find that somebody like Messi has to still work hard. People don't probably see him working as hard as
I understand that.
he
But
actually
the
does.
question was more kind of like theoretical rather than actual.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I just think if you've got an X factor, if you're a Maverick and you've got an X factor,
Which one's more of a pleasure to coach? That's what I'm asking.
Both.
Both, yeah. Okay.
I just think both. I just think everybody's got their own X factors. Some just look more prettier than others. That's why you got a lot of people who play more defense that don't get the credit that they deserve. They don't. You got unsung heroes, haven't you? Because society likes the fancy players.
Yeah.
Society likes the goal scorers. You know, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that I can see pleasure in people in any position because of what they do. I don't know if you remember when we was having a conversation about my Dulwich days.
Mm-hmm.
It's then when I really had an appreciation of you don't have to be a pretty player to be a good player and an effective player. Because I played with some great players that were the ball winners. They were the ones that, they were the workers. They were the ones that if it wasn't for them, I couldn't do my.
They give you the platform to put on a show, essentially.
Absolutely. So I just think if I'm on the other side of the coin, like I'm the coach. I love seeing the workers, but I do love seeing those that are the Mavericks. But I don't like seeing the Maverick who is not willing to work.
Yes.
Because nobody is that special as far as I'm concerned. And if you're not going to be doing the work, then somebody's doing your work, and that's cheating.
So that's what I was trying to get out of you, essentially. Yeah. Okay.
But just to end, I'll say end the Palace experience. I do want to say, you know, one of my biggest achievements at Palace, as I said, like I was there for 4.5 years. The main age group that I would coach would be either the youngest was under 9s, the oldest was under 11s. I think I've done the under 10s twice. And I remember when we went up to Chelsea, and Chelsea always have a quality side. And the biggest achievement on this particular occasion, where we didn't always do it this way, where we always had 2 coaches per team. And in some cases, you'd have 2 teams, which each coach would be leading and looking after for that particular match. And there would always be 4 quarters to every academy match. They always play 4 quarters of 15 minutes. And we beat Chelsea, and we were the underdogs, and Chelsea were a good side, but we played very well. And I managed that side, which I was very, very proud of, because that wasn't an easy task to do. And I've got a picture, which I'm hoping that I can show, which is maybe coming up on screen now, and may not, where it was a massive celebration for the boys. I felt proud for them.
Yeah. Massive boost for yourself though,
because it was a really
So you coached the masterclass.
absolutely. You know, and it was a big step up being at Palace and coaching at Palace anyway. So things like that were something to savor those moments. So just wanted to kind of end on that.
Okay, wonderful stuff. Well, we said we weren't going to keep this one rolling too long, so we're going to finish there. But Lionel, thanks again for imparting some of your your footballing insights and obviously your journey with coaching. And I think the last one to wrap up Who is Lionel Best will be the start of Big, which we'll film quite shortly after this one. But yeah, big up to yourself, Lionel. Thank you very much.
Excellent. All right then. Thanks very much.
Cool. And although it all went well in the end.
It always does.
Thank you, guys. Please like and subscribe to Aaron Media Central and big Besty's Inspirational guidance. Thank you very much.